Hi, I'm Teresa Garza in Mujer Poder Hoy. On the next show, I'm going to have Francesca Rattray, the CEO of the YWCA San Antonio, to talk about the services, the mission, and also about wage equity.
Thank you, Teresa. YWCA is on a mission.
Stay tuned. Hi, I'm Teresa Garza. Welcome to Mujer Poder Hoy. I'm really happy that you guys are here because we're going to talk about wage equity and wage gap. But first of all, I would like to take a little time to talk about two questions that I want you to think about it. And the first one is that did you know that on average, Black women make 72 cents compared to a white non-Hispanic male? Did you know that? And what about that? Let's go to the Latinas. Did you know that on average, a Latina woman in San Antonio will make 61 cents compared to a white non-Hispanic male? Maybe you know about that, maybe you didn't, but the fact is that sometimes we try to avoid this kind of conversation because sometimes it's like uncomfortable or awkward, but this is the time to talk about it, so we can promote like social changes, and that's why I have here Francesca Rattray. She's the CEO of YWCA San Antonio, that she's going to talk about that and a lot of things that the YWCA San Antonio has to offer to the community. Thank you for being here.
Great. Thank you for having me, Teresa.
Oh, thank you. So, Francesca, first of all, tell us about the YWCA San Antonio mission, vision, and the services.
Great, absolutely. Well, again, thank you. And YWCA has been in San Antonio for over 100 years. We were started here in 1910. And our mission today is the same as it was then, to empower women and eliminate racism. And here we are in 2022, still fighting for both of those. In San Antonio, we achieved that mission through programs that remove barriers for women, especially women of color, to become self-sufficient. Barriers such as childcare, youth success, economic empowerment, and health equity. And what's great about our program is that we provide services and we do outreach and advocacy. And our advocacy work is exactly what we're talking about today: racial justice and gender equity. We advocate for systemic change, policy change, and for greater awareness and understanding among the community.
That's amazing that we can talk about this because as I mentioned, sometimes it's like we try to avoid this kind of conversation, that it is important to talk about, like, for example, wage gap and wage equity. And if you can tell us exactly so people can understand what is like wage equity and why it is important to talk about it.
Wage equity is many things, but as you led us off today to talk about, when we talk about the wage gap, we're talking about the wage gap between white men and women, but in particular women of color. Many people don't even think that the wage gap still exists in 2020. I mean, we have an equal pay law, 2022. We have an equal pay law, but that law doesn't really have any teeth. We have in San Antonio, as you mentioned, white men, for every dollar a white man makes, Black women earn about 68, 70 cents per dollar. Latinas earn 56 to 60 cents per dollar. This is for a lot of reasons. This is because of outreach and hiring practices that don't specifically create a pipeline for women of color to work their way up the ladder. It's also because of occupational segregation, and by that I mean the jobs that women historically perform in the care industry, in childcare, nursing, elder care. They are traditionally performed by women and specifically women of color, and those careers and jobs are historically undervalued and historically underpaid. And so when we look at what women of color earn in San Antonio, they are clustered around the lower hourly, low wage jobs. So when we advocate for wage equity, we're not only advocating for pay practices that recruit, hire, and pay men and women of equal experience and equal education the same, but we're also advocating to pay jobs that are historically performed by women what they deserve.
So, for example, the Wage Equity Project is one of the ways that you help to educate the community, or tell us a little bit more about that.
Yes, so a lot of working for wage equity is creating awareness. It's creating awareness in the community, among businesses, and also among policymakers. And so we, YWCA, were fortunate to receive a grant from United Way, who had the insight and vision to see what an important topic this is. And so in 2019, we began our work, and it is an awareness campaign. Creating awareness through social media, through ads, through forums, education, summits, that number one, the wage gap exists, because as I said, many in our community, many in the country don't believe that the wage gap exists. So number one, showing how exactly that exists. And then two, changing the narrative, changing minds about the wage gap. We've had some really interesting social media campaigns that have been videos that have shown where exactly the wage gap starts. And we've had a lot of response to that, positive and negative, but it's been a lively discussion.
That's the way it is. Yeah,
but we're continuing that.
That's great. Like you say, like positive and negative feedback, but that's the way it is, because we're talking about something that we never talk, and we have to. But it's incredible that, I mean, we're on, like you say, 2022, and we're still talking about this. We need to move forward. So can you give us like some examples of like wage inequity?
Absolutely. So some of our studies have shown that for job, equal jobs, even jobs, and in fact, especially jobs that require higher education, the gap is wide. For example, in the finance and higher education industry in San Antonio, which requires a graduate degree and beyond, that is where we have seen that the wage gap is greater. And so those who argue that women don't have the same amount of education as men or the same experience because they've either taken time off to take care of children or have just not had the same opportunities, that is wrong, because we can see in the data that for job and same education level, that women are still not making as much as men. That's a very just...
That's a fact.
A fact.
Yeah, wow. And this is interesting because, for example, let's say that I'm applying for a job, and there's gonna be like a short-term impact, but seeing everything, what is like the long-term impact?
Well, it's detrimental, because calculated over a lifetime, a Black woman literally loses almost $1 million, something like $900,000, that is left on the table compared to a white man. And for Latinas, it's worse. It's over $1 million over a lifetime.
So that's why we need to fight for this.
And the impact in our community is also seen. It's a loss to GDP in our community. It's a loss of jobs and buying power. I mean, women are the household budget holders and spenders of household income. So when women are paid what a man is paid, they can invest more in our economy, but that's just not happening, and we see it in San Antonio.
It's like you mentioned, it is important, first of all, to be aware of this situation, like the kind of campaigns that you're talking about, because it's like maybe we know, but we try to ignore, and this is the time to approach this in the right way. So I know that after like awareness, there's another step that could be like education. Are you working in some kind of like workshops or events that can help the community to learn a little bit more about this topic?
Yes, we've been partnering for some amazing workshops. So YWCA's approach is through systemic change. We believe in changing policies and also changing business practices. But at the same time, we also have to teach women how to advocate for themselves. So we're partnering with the American Association of University Women to teach women about salary negotiation tactics, which is critical. So we have two really great trainings and events coming up. So on August 4th, YWCA has put together a wage equity cohort of business champions leading the way to advocate for wage equity. And this cohort, we have 26 leaders and decision makers in companies such as Wells Fargo, to River City Credit Union, to the San Antonio Human Resources Management Association. And these representatives come together every other month to have a conversation about wage equity and what we can do. And the goal is really to expand that cohort. So this Thursday, August 4th, we'll have a conversation with the VP of Talent for HEB, Marilyn Harris, who will be interviewed by a cohort member, Barbara Burford, from the VP for Community Investments at Wells Fargo, about best practices that HEB has implemented to ensure wage equity.
Wow.
It's going to be a great conversation because HEB really has been a leader. If you look at their C-suite and their key staff, many are women of color. Because HEB knows that women do grocery shopping primarily.
Yes,
so
we're the ones.
So HEB's best practices will be a really great conversation, and that's going to be again on August 4th at YWCA from 12 to 1:30.
Okay. If people want to register, they can visit YWCA Facebook or website, or how can they register?
They can, for this event, they can reach out to me directly.
Okay.
Or to our new Director of Racial Justice and Gender Equity, Misty Hardy. And I believe her email will be available.
Yes, we're showing the email.
So reaching out to her will be a way to register for this event. We have space is unlimited at this point, so we hope to have as many attendees as possible. Then on Saturday, we are fortunate to partner with AAUW, American Association of University Women, and the Mayor's Commission on the Status of Women to host the salary negotiation training, wage equity background information, and job fair on Saturday, August 6th, and it will be held at the YWCA's new Women's Live and Learn campus at 2318 Casterville Road. So that will be a
They're
great...
free? The events?
It's completely free, and we'll be providing child watch to women who need
That's
to bring
very
their
important.
children along. So hope to get as many people there as possible.
Okay, so it's August the 4th, and the other one is August the 6th, and they're both free, and we can learn more about how to negotiate to get better salaries. And like in general terms, what is the future of the wage equity work? What do you think?
Well, there's still a lot of work to be done with awareness. There are still companies to be reached and organizations to be a part of our cohort. And we want to be clear, being a part of the wage equity cohort doesn't mean that you have to do anything. It's about educating yourself and your company about best practices that benefit everyone, not just women in your organization, not just women of color, but at a time when we're having a hard time recruiting, when the job market is super tight, being able to say that you pay a living wage and an equal wage is a selling point in recruiting more women to your company. So we'll continue to raise awareness. We'll continue to recruit new businesses for our cohort. and be watching our website and our social media pages. We've had our Wage Equity Wednesday ads that tell a little bit about wage equity and what causes it and what we can do about it. So be on the lookout for that. So that's just one component. But I also want to emphasize this occupational segregation piece, which we're also seeing as having a ripple effect through our economy, with especially, as I said, the care industry and childcare. Until we're able to pay childcare workers and other professionals in the care industry a living wage, we're going to have this crisis in care that is impacting working women.
So what can we do as part of the community? Because we're talking about like business, but as individuals, as part of the community, as women of color, what can we do?
Number one, you can advocate for it. You can, what's the best way to advocate is vote. Vote in the November elections for candidates that support equal pay and equal pay laws and programs that empower women. You can write to your representatives. You can join YWCA in this effort, become a part of the cohort. And you can support your local childcare agencies, knowing that there is this crisis and this shortage of childcare workers. Being able to take your children to a childcare center and support your local childcare centers is another way to do it. We, YWCA, are advocating for more and higher quality and well-paid childcare.
Oh, that's very important, because I always believe that when we're working on something, we need to start like with our own, in our house or our own home. And Francesca, now you mentioned about women empowerment. What is for you like women empowerment in general?
That is such a broad question, and
I know, but it is because we always talk about women empowerment, but what it is really.
So what we're talking about is freedom. When a woman is empowered, she is free. She is free to leave a marriage that is abusive. She is free to invest in her children's education. She's free to move around. She's even free to leave a job that is not working for her. So when we talk about women's empowerment, that's what we're really talking about, is freedom. In my own life, I've had numerous opportunities to not feel empowered, and have taken steps to be empowered, and that freedom that you feel when you know that you can make your own decisions is like nothing else that you can experience.
I totally agree with you, and I think another important thing as women, as a community, like working together and support each other, is the importance of like sometimes like sharing our stories or sharing our experience, so we can know that we're not alone.
Absolutely.
What do you think about that?
Well, I think if COVID has done nothing else, it's made us more vulnerable, and has I certainly share at least 2 stories a week with staff at YWCA. Everyone is going through something. Everyone has a challenge that they're dealing with, whether you're a frontline worker on the leadership team. So sharing your stories is a way to promote healing and greater understanding, and that's the way we empower each other.
Yeah. And one more time before we finish, but we would like to know again if you can tell us like all the services that the YWCA offer, so they don't forget.
Well, I want to start with, we are more than a community center. For too long, we were understood to be just like the female version of the YMCA, but we are different. Mm-hmm. We are an advocacy organization that exists to eliminate racism and empower women, which is a huge goal. And we do that through very practical services. We have a child care program located on the west side, our Olga Madrid Center, with the availability of 90 child care slots for children ages 0 to 5 starting in the fall. So please check us out. We also provide youth success services for youth ages 12 to 19 who are in school. and service and programs for them after school as well, so they remain engaged. Our economic empowerment programs teach about how to manage your finances and even how to start your own job, your own work, your own company. And our health equity program trains young women to become community health workers while also expanding access in the community to healthcare services. And one thing to add is now YWCA is a partner in the city's Ready to Work campaign.
Oh, wow, that's very important. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, we are recruiting individuals who want to either go back to school or get job training for jobs that pay a living wage, $15 an hour and more. And we will provide case management services, tuition, referrals to training, as well as referrals to jobs. So check us out. Check out our website for that. We're a partner in a partnership that includes about 10 community-based organizations. So if we can help you, we're able to refer you to services that can.
That's awesome. So you have like services like from babies to seniors.
We like to say from 0 to 99 and above. So absolutely.
So thank you very much for being here and for help us to understand how important it is to talk about wage equity. And just to remind everybody that YWCA have these events on August the 4th and August the 6th, right?
Correct.
Okay, so thank you again for being here. And I don't know if you want to send like a message to the community on behalf of the YWCA.
All right. Well, first I want to give a big shout out to the YWCA team. They work hard every single day. I value you and appreciate you. And hello to the community who the YWCA serves. And those of you who have never experienced the YWCA, I invite you to get to know us.
Sure, for sure. So thank you again, Francesca, and thank you to everybody for joining us. It was like really interesting to learn more about the YWCA San Antonio. And we'll see you next month. Thank you and have a great night.